All right, here we go again. So some of it is similar to the Stockholm syndrome. So an officer might be bribed, but to get there, they have to go through this idea that they have no choice. Most times, it's more than just afraid of losing their life or something like that. It's again, what they do is they engage in a fishing expedition. They used everything we use for investigation and spycraft for the criminal enterprise. So, just think about what you do in investigation and in spycraft investigation, realize that's what they're doing. So they target somebody with something like a Cambridge Analytica profile. Now, what they would say, it's their fault because they can be extorted. They have something extortable. Not all people that have something to extort them are extortable. They just ignore it. Right. But what they'll do is they'll do that. That's why I'm saying this idea where your information gets to be used or you have to stop it, or that's all bullshit. Criminal enterprise use that. People like Comey, Mueller, they put that out there. They'll tell you for investigation, but that's bullshit. Right. Well, because they were already indoctrinated into the thing. They're already afraid about having sex with a 16-year-old or whatever it was. Right. And then started taking the bribes. So the law enforcement officer might have something, or they may work something into the law enforcement officer's life. Like I showed you that York Digital record where Russell Wantz and all these corrupt GM people, or people that wanted to control GM dealerships. I wasn't clear on exactly what was going on there, the courthouse sex ring kind of thing, whatever that was. But at least he was, whether that existed or not, he was highlighting the criminal enterprise that was in the government there around York County and other counties in Pennsylvania. Right. Well, that's who they are. That's who they would be. That's how the drugs would come in. They would get a payment, maybe night shift. There's 3 or 4 counties they drive through during the night, and the cops on duty, again, they're extorted. It's either a direct extortion or a fishing expedition extortion, which means they don't know what you did, but they're going to just try to make you believe that they do. And then they're going to use that to extort you into taking a bribe, or the officer into taking a bribe. Right. If you have 3 night shifts or 3 county night shifts, that's a good move in a night. Right. Semi pulls into a business, waits till night shift, then moves across 3 or 4 counties, then pulls into a business, waits till the next night. Right. Something like that. So, but it creates this Stockholm syndrome. So what happens is, that's what they use against me. Like, if it wasn't for me, this wouldn't be happening. No, it wasn't for this piece of shit who sold out the nation for KGB, for narcotics, or anything that comes along that's going to pay them dividends. So essentially what happens is they shift it to the victim. Like, and that's what they're doing there with ICE. If it wasn't for ICE, this wouldn't be happening. No, if there wouldn't be sex trafficking, narcotics distribution, narcotics deaths, it's the immigrant community. Come on. And when it wasn't this big, I'd say, okay, but there's no doubt that they're covering, as the immigrant community increased, and again, they're not really immigrants, they're foreign nationals. There's no agreement for immigration. So you have to understand, that's why they're called aliens. There is no agreement for them to immigrate. They do not have immigration status. Now, there's maybe 5% of the people they're deporting have immigrant status. Right. And then they lost it for, whatever crime they committed. Maybe even 10%. Right. So as we reduce the number of immigrants here to receive and cover over the receiver. So you understand, if we go into a community of immigrants or aliens or foreign nationals, actually, and those foreign nationals are here on parole or whatever, right? And there's somebody that tells them, look, you listen to us. Well, you're dead. Okay, I listen to you. and even if they tell you to leave, we'll make it so you can stay because we got bribes for people, right? So again, there's a boss bribing government officials and law enforcement and all that on behalf of the immigrants. That's why you don't count, because you don't bribe them. To begin with, you don't have the money to bribe them because spies in the United States stole the money and gave it to the spies in the foreign nations, or vice versa, vice. Again, they do it back and forth. Now, the investigation system, background investigation is bullshit. If it was honest, Comey be in prison, Brennan be in prison, Mueller be in prison, right? Tenet would be in prison and said he's got a big medal named after him. Big fool that ruined everything. Right. Thank you, Larry. When I woke up, one of the first things God said to me, God, and there was a lot in that first year or two, Hashem said, history is bullshit. History is a lie. I'll explain to you how history actually occurred. So again, the idea is that that's probably what's happening. So you install these, and again, I don't know if they're $1 billion, but at least multi-million-dollar projects, and they add up somewhere to $1 billion. They're circumventing it in most cases. And actually, the load you catch may have been a miscommunication, or maybe even the officer called in sick, and he wasn't on that interdiction route. Correct. Or maybe DEA called you and say, shuffle up the officers. Let's see what happens. Right. Thank you, Larry. So again, there's this Stockholm syndrome where they're angry at you for doing your job. So when they're online and ICE starts doing this, a law enforcement officer is surfing online, all of a sudden the shit starts again. You're this, you're that. And then they get mad at ICE. If ICE goes away, I'll be okay. If ICE goes away, I'll be okay. Ah! That kind of shit. Right. And that's what they're in their head doing. Thank you, Larry. That Minneapolis, I don't know what his thing is. I know they did have a Justice Department, whatever those things are called, not continuing resolution. What do they call those things? A consent decree. But it's obviously too far the other way. Right. Right. Well, there's a state, you have to look at that state consent decree. Right. And again, that could be the source of the corruption. They use the consent decree to force people into things. And again, the excuse that we're just a nice police department versus allowing your people to move mass amounts of narcotics and sex trafficking for free. Right. You always have black marshal that was in Oklahoma territory. I feel like that today. I think it was the Oklahoma. It was pretty badass. He'd go in to native lands looking for the criminals. Right. Kind of a mobile marshal. A mobile marshal. But really, they're circumventing us, and part of it is the corruption. I mean, just what I'm seeing in Minneapolis. Obviously, it's beyond political. They'll say it's political. Right. I agree. Now, they may have committed a bunch of crimes. Whether they're prosecutable or not, I don't know. Again, there is a statute of limitations. Right. And they should be cognizant of it. So if you did it 5 years or more ago, just shut up and go away. You can't be arrested anymore. Most, federal wise, right? Thank you, Lord. So again, that's what's going on. A lot of Stockholm syndrome. There are people. I see it all the time. I see it in the Marshal Service, like scumbags that are nobodies. Oh, they're the big. Never done nothing in reality. I mean, they're made to look good. They give them position and made to look good based upon a $1 trillion system that federal law enforcement maintains. Now, if they don't like you, then nobody gives you access. And they go, well, why don't they like you? Why don't they like you? Because I won't succumb to your bullshit and become a criminal for you. Right. Thank you, Larry. You got to remember, they use a lot of women for this. A lot of screwy women, screwball women, spread their legs women. Right. And the lesbians just jumped in. I would say dominant lesbians are a big part of it. Again, I have nothing against lesbians. I treated lesbians better than anybody else in the government, but it just never worked. I don't know what's wrong with them. I mean, there was a couple on my assignment. I'm not going to say all of them. I was running assignments, deputies out of town and stuff. They were pretty good. They were good people, but a lot of them though, they have something wrong with them. I don't know what it is. Treat them nice, and then they treat you bad. Right. And it could be just because you're a man, Right. No, back then it was serious. I mean, there was real discrimination. Now they use that discrimination to reverse the discrimination again, but it's still discrimination. They go, oh, so that's just, right? Because some man somewhere who's a millionaire or a multimillionaire who isn't me, weirdos. See, that's what they do. That's another one they do. They take their anger at men that are actually the deep state and their deep state, and they put it on me, the non-deep state guy that never did it to them. Right? Oh, they're low grade. These people are so fucking low grade, so shitty. They sold the nation to the KGB. That was one of their first big sales. Right. Then the narcos, the Mexicans. They think it's funny because they're in both sides of the political parties. Somebody's manipulating Trump in the wrong direction. He's speaking on too much at once. Doing better to articulate what? That you're going to take over Greenland? Why are you saying that while we're in Iran, while we're in Venezuela? Right. Well, don't talk about it. Just do it if you're going to do it. Right. I don't think the nation's stable enough to do that. You have internal strife. Yeah, albeit it's who we say it is, but right. Well, they could be on Iran's payroll too. Iran had a lot of money to spend over the last 20 years or 10, about 13 years or something. It doesn't have to be an Iranian operator talking to them. It could have been a system they set up. Again, they come into a city, they bring in some of the Obama money, a few $1 million, pay off a few choice people, and put them into power. But who came in? Somebody used to be in the Marshal Service, somebody used to be in the FBI, made up a bullshit story as to what they were doing there. Took the Iranian money and dispersed it. Not hard to figure out how they maintain that hold on the United States. And you get promoted when you're a money grubbing piece of shit. So again, a lot of what you're dealing with is not necessarily valid, and you know that, but it's like a Stockholm syndrome. Somebody's applying pressure to them, and then if you fuck off, then they feel like they'll be okay. Well, stay peaceful. Praise God in all that you do. We'll be back for prayers in a second.